purchase, a house or a piece of land for my family, then that is in the short term. But then there's today's needs that we also need to think about. So when you look at money and you're thinking about it in all these, all these things that the money is supposed to do, then it also shows maturity. You come from a place of, oh, my money is for, just dressing up. My money is for just eating and enjoying life. But the moment you're thinking about this, you're actually showing maturity in handling money, and you're becoming, a better steward of the resources that are coming into your hands. So it also shows maturity, just being able to put together goals and work towards your money goals. The other thing, when you are putting money away like this, you realize that in the event that you need to do something with your money, whether it's an emergency, whether it's an actual goal that you have been saving towards, you realize that you will not dip your hands into your other investments. You've had or seen people who have had to maybe liquidate a piece of land just to pay school fees, or someone who has had to, sell their shares to be able to take care of their immediate needs. But like we thought maybe some time back during a similar conversation, we were talking about compound interest, which is commonly referred to as the eighth wonder of the world, just because of how it is able to exponentially grow money. So if you have investments and you constantly dip in your hands to withdraw from your investments, then you will not enjoy the benefits of compounding. But if you plan your resources well, you have your emergency funds, you also have your sinking funds on this other side, then you will be able to let your investments grow. And in that way, you will reap the benefits of compounding interest. I put a note there to say that compounding benefits are always a function of time. The more you leave your money in, in an investment that earns interest, the longer it stays there, the more the interest which you leave there earns more interest. And that is essentially what we mean when we talk about compounding. So it's your money working for you to earn more money. And the more you leave it there, the longer you leave it there, the more your money grows. So you with a goal, with a sinking fund, then you are able to let that money actually grow. Finally, I put in a note there to say that with a sinking fund, then you can actually spend money without feeling guilty. If you're like me, I know you've had instances where you've bought certain things or put in quite a chunk of money into something only for you to come back and have, buyer's remorse, feeling like, oh, should I really have done that? But when you have money that has been kept away for a specific purpose, then you will spend that money, like, I got this, I can spend this money because I planned for this day, I planned for this purchase. So there's the element also of guilt-free spending. Okay, very good. So before we have a look at this, I would like to launch a Slido. So Sister Nancy, if you could kindly just paste the links on the chat, on the Zoom chat, and I will move over to Slido so that we can quickly I don't know if let me know once you guys are connected on Slido. Okay, let me know when you're connected and what you can see on your end. Do we have the link? Are we connected? I can't see anyone yet.
There are around 7 people there. I don't know. The link is showing 7 people joined.
Ah, okay. It is saying waiting for participants. Let me do that again.
There are participants joining.
Uh-huh. Are you guys connected?
Probably put up the first poll and let's see how it goes.
Okay. It won't do that until I have participants. So let me see.
Because on the link it's saying 10 users have already joined.
Ah, okay, interesting. Ah, okay, I can see names. I can see names.
Yes.
So it's actually on my end that Zanzi, can you try let me see if I can give you rights. Then you can give me back the rights. Yeah, it's taking longer than usual. Oh, very good. I can now see people. For some reason, I think my internet is a little bit slow, but I can see you guys now. All right. So basically, this is quite straightforward, but I want to test your understanding of what we have just gone through today and what we went through last week. So we're going to look at several expenses or things that we ordinarily spend our money on, and you are going to pick whether this is an emergency fund. I can see people are already voting. Or whether it is a sinking fund. So because I was talking, I'm going to redo that again. So you have exactly 20 seconds, 20 seconds with each question. All right. So, all right. Just give me a sec. Very good. We have started again. So put in your answer. Put in your answer for the first question, 20 seconds, and I'll move on to the next. Is funeral contribution emergency? Is it sinking? Is it both? Okay. All right. So yeah, it is mostly an emergency, and we will get to see why that is, or we can quickly just discuss it. You don't plan for anybody to die, so you cannot really have a goal. And I know someone might argue that in the US, they actually have life insurance and they save towards it. And that's why I left there the option for both, because sometimes with these expenses, it really depends on how you define it and the lens through which you are looking at them. But we can largely agree that it is an emergency fund. Okay, trip to Dubai in December 2026. Is this emergency or is this sinking fund? All right. It's a specific goal. We know it is coming. We have a timeline for it. So definitely a sinking kind of fund. Okay, next question. Car insurance charges. So you own a car, and every year you have to pay insurance for it. Is this sinking or is it emergency? And why do these kind of expenses catch us unawares if it is a sinking fund? All right. Okay, so we agree. No one has voted emergency. So we all agree that car insurance is not an emergency. It's actually, it should be planned for in a sinking fund, all right? Next question. My neighbor has bought, beautiful kitchen appliances. There's a toaster, there's an air fryer, there's the latest microwave. I want to upgrade. Is this a sinking fund or emergency? All right, you guys are saying, okay, a few of you think it's an emergency. And most of us think that it is actually a sinking fund. What does the answer say? It is a sinking fund. An upgrade of whatever kind is never an emergency. When we talk about an upgrade, we are essentially saying that we already have something that already meets that goal. So upgrades, they are not emergencies. Let's move on to the next question. A roratio, or wedding expenses. Roratio is basically pre-wedding, or when you're going, actually it's dowry payment. You're planning a wedding, you're planning dowry. Is this emergency, or is it wedding? Is it sinking? Okay, some people say emergency, but this is really a sinking fund. No one should ever put you in a committee for a wedding as though it's an emergency. Someone who is a bachelor today knows that they're intending to marry in about X number of years' time. So they should already start putting funds together towards this. This is not to say that we should not contribute towards such happy occasions, but it is never an emergency. It is never an emergency. Dowry payment is not an emergency. Wedding expenses are not emergencies. How about Christmas travel and gifts? Kenyans in December, we run out of spaces in public transport, especially, going to various places up country. And then things happen in January. So you get to wonder, was this travel an emergency, or could these people have planned better? So we all agree that when it comes to Christmas, the travel and the gifts, we can plan better. It should actually have been planned in a sinking fund. All right, let's look at the next question. Okay, term 1, January school fees. Is this emergency or is this sinking? Because the way sometimes these things catch us or appear to catch us unawares, we normally make it seem like we didn't know it was coming. Anyone who thinks this is an emergency? All right. So we all think and believe that this is sinking fund, and indeed it is. We know that it's happening. Right now we are in August, but we know that come January, we will be doing XYZ as far as school is concerned. Business capital. Sometimes, we talk about this as though, it's just an emergency. It happened and we now need to set up a business. But how can we do this better? Is this through emergency or sinking funds? And we all agree that it is sinking funds. That is true. Okay, but also one could argue that it also depends on the amount of capital that is required for whatever business you want to start, okay? Retirement days, right? Are your children your retirement plan, or should you put down a fund for your retirement? Okay. Yeah, we all know that we were once young. Some of us are still young and growing younger. But David says that he was once young and then he grew old. So we know that age moves, and we, regardless of whether we want to think about it or not, at one point we will have to retire from actively making money. And with that, then we need to plan for retirement, regardless of what age you are now. Wardrobe upgrade, your wardrobe upgrade, your shoes, your clothes. Are these emergencies, or can you plan this better using sinking funds? All right. So we all agree that they're sinking funds. This is not to say that you cannot have a bit of fun with your money when you see something nice, but when it comes to a major upgrade to your wardrobe, so that it does not, really take a hit on your finances, then it's best to plan those using sinking funds. All right, next question. Sudden medical treatment. Is this emergency? Is this sinking? Or can it be both? Sudden medical treatment. Okay. 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 All right. So I agree. I agree with you guys that this can be either. It can be either, and mainly because even when you look at your NHIF, if you're a Kenyan and you're contributing NHIF, you're actually putting money into a big sinking fund that everyone else in this country contributes to. So that when you fall ill, you can actually dip into that fund and get medical treatment. So when you look at it through that lens, then it is an emergency. It is a sinking fund, right? Even if you're the kind of person who puts money aside just in case people fall sick, you could say that that is your medical sinking fund. It is also an emergency. It can also be an emergency. And we did have a look at this last week. And the use of the word sudden there really cements the fact that you did not know that this is coming. You couldn't have planned for this. Then it is really, really an emergency, right? So sudden medical treatment, you could plan for it, or it could really be an emergency and you could take care of it using your emergency fund. You want to buy a house in 2030. How do you plan for this? Do you borrow as a matter of urgency and emergency to be able to do that? Or do you do it better using a sinking fund? All right, everybody says not an emergency. This has to be a sinking fund. All right. Okay. Next question, a child's birthday, very quickly. Is this an emergency or a sinking fund? A child's birthday. All right. Definitely. Okay. Okay, I'll ask another question. Okay. Your car breaks down without comprehensive insurance. In Kenya here, we have the option to either get third party, which covers anyone else who gets hurt by you in an accident. But you can also get comprehensive. Supposing you're in an accident and you do not have comprehensive, is this a matter of sinking fund or emergency? All right, so this is really an emergency. This is really an emergency. You should ideally have comprehensive insurance, but in the event that this happens to you and you do not have comprehensive insurance, then this is the kind of thing that you would actually dip into the emergency fund to be able to take care of. Your school or work laptop suddenly breaks down. Is this an emergency or is it a sinking fund? Okay. All right. I agree. I agree with the people who've already voted. This is definitely an emergency. Okay. I think last question. Maybe last two. Sudden breakdown of a microwave used by my household to warm lunches and dinners. Is this an emergency or is this a sinking fund? Okay. Sudden breakdown of a microwave used by my household to warm lunches and dinners. Is this an emergency or a sinking fund? All right. Yeah. It's the emergency fund carries the day, and indeed it is, because this is not something that you would have planned for. Sometimes these things do happen, and when such a thing happens, just because of the description, you know, of how I have described and framed that question, this is definitely an emergency, and you probably do not have money set aside to replace the microwave. So this again is a type of thing that you would get money out of the emergency fund to be able to take care of. Okay, last question. Upgrade of a microwave to match my neighbors. Is this sinking or is this emergency? All right, so most of us, it is definitely not an emergency because you already have a microwave that is working. And number one here, even your reason for getting the microwave is not really good enough, and it cannot be an emergency for that very reason. It means that you have something that is working and you can be able to plan for it and be able to get it a bit later. So that is really the end. Let's see if we have, so that is that. Let us see who the winner of these questions is. So Robin Owino is number one, then Nancy, Joanne, okay. I think some people maybe didn't vote on all the questions, but thank you. Thank you so much for participating on that. And I will just move back to our slides very quickly. Just give me a sec. All right, let me know. Please confirm that you can see the slides. Okay. So just to sum up the exercise that we have just done, there's a person called Danielle who is a financial planner, and he says that an emergency fund shouldn't be used for something that could be planned for and otherwise budgeted. So if you can plan for something, if it is not an upgrade that is needed right here, right now, then what that means is that it is not an emergency and you can plan for that in a sinking fund. So emergency funds are not specific in purpose, as we have seen, they're non-specific, but sinking funds are predictable. The need is predictable and it is goal-based. Emergency funds are mostly to make you comfortable in your living expenses, like we saw last time. Sinking funds, most of the time, they are not essential. You've seen, you know, a trip to Dubai, you have seen maybe buying a house or a piece of land. It is not essential, but it will make your life much more enjoyable, right? Emergency funds, usually when we talk about them, it is specifically 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. But when it is about sinking funds, it's about a specific goal. When you're talking about the timeline that you take to set one or the other, emergency funds take a shorter timeline, and like I have said, maximum 1 year. But with sinking funds, it varies. It could even be a goal, like we have seen retirement. It could be a goal for 30 years, 40, 50 years, or it could even be that 1 year, like the cases of school fees and all that, or a kitchen upgrade and all that. Okay, emergency funds are revolving. That is to say that, remember last week we said immediately you spend from your emergency funds, then you should, you know, make a plan towards how you're going to replenish the amount that you spent out of your emergency fund. So it's a revolving fund, and it should always have X amount of money, or a target to have X amount of money. But when it comes to sinking funds, you mostly close them after you have spent. So if you are planning to go to Dubai in the year, you know, in December 2025, you put your money away. The moment you make that trip and you spend that money, you can comfortably close that fund. And then the other difference is on where you save the money. We talked about emergency funds being saved in vehicles that are very easy to access. But with sinking funds, depending on the length of the fund itself and the length of the goal from today, then you will decide. You can actually invest. Remember, we say that emergency funds are not necessarily for investment, but for sinking funds, you can even consider to put your money in bonds and all that, just because of the length of time that you are looking at compared to where we are today. So very quickly, where to put this money: savings accounts. We touched on this when we were looking at emergency funds, so savings accounts, high yield accounts, money markets. And then now you will realize that the last three places that I'm talking about here today are actually investment vehicles. So government securities, bonds and bills, insurance policies, like when people talk about life insurance or education policies for their children. So insurance policies, which actually earn a lot of compound interest on your money. And then real estate is also a place to put your sinking funds in. We've had even Pastor Matthew teach a lot on real estate, teach a lot on land, where you buy land today at say 250,000. By the time, and you buy that land for the purpose of maybe educating your child in future through university. So by the time this child, maybe 10 or so years down the line, the land has appreciated in value, and by selling it, you are actually able to fund the very reason why you had started that particular sinking fund in the first place. So this varies, and you can be able to determine which is the best vehicle to use, just based on the length of time between today and when you will actually need the money. The aim at all times, whether it is an emergency fund or a sinking fund, is to just preserve the value of money. And for your long-term investments, ensure that your money actually grows. So by preserving value of money, we all know about inflation, the fact that today's bread costs, X times how much it actually costed a few years back. So when money is just sitting in an account where it is not earning any interest whatsoever, it loses value, because when you take it out, you'll be able to purchase less than you would have at the time of putting the money in. So always consider some sort of interest, preferably in money markets at the very least, so that your money actually earns a bit of money whilst it is stored away. But if it is long-term, then think about a vehicle that will give you true returns on your money, even though when you're talking about these two funds, the aim is not always to grow money, but just to be able to have the money when you need it. Okay. So with that, Sister Nancy, I don't know whether I can claim back some of my lost time. Please let me know, Sister Nancy. Sister Nancy, can you guys hear me? Anybody?
It's okay. Maybe we can take up to 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. I hope I can cover this in 4 minutes. Then for the last 10 minutes, we can go through some questions. I hope people are putting their questions in the chat. So what I wanted to show us very quickly today through a practical demonstration is an example of how to work out emergency funds. And this is for an individual who is earning a net salary of 30,000. Remember, you have your gross income, and then after taxes, you have money that actually hits your bank account, maybe on a monthly basis if you earn your money on a monthly basis. So I took 30,000, and an interesting statistic here from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is that most Kenyans actually earn between 16,000 and 65,000 every single month. Okay, so I took a modest figure of 30,000. And the first thing I did was to try and budget that, right? I wouldn't go through the percentages that I applied here, but I tried to budget that the best way I can. Truly speaking, it is not a lot of money, but I try to budget with it nonetheless. Put in food money, rent money, small household items like cleaning supplies that fall within your groceries, water, electricity, your fare to and from work, maybe offering, if you're a believer, you'll notice tithe there, some amount for grooming, and you have your mother or your grandmother in the village, some small amount for fun, so that it doesn't look like you're always working and not spending anything for fun. But you'll realize that I left savings blank because this person has a debt that they're paying. So it could be one or the other at this income level, but I assumed it's debt. It could have been savings, but a lot of us have, some sort of debt here and there. So this person, on a, in an ordinary month, they earn 30,000 net salary, and this is how I budgeted that money. I'll send you this file for you to see if you can do it a bit better than I did, but that's the best I could come up with. And then now when it comes to this person, maybe determining what their emergency funds would look like, I went ahead and now determined whether, these expenses are essential or non-essential. Remember, we spoke about the emergency fund being built specifically to take care of your fundamental, your living expenses, things that you cannot do without, whether you are working or earning revenue actively or not. So that is rent, even though you maybe say in the event of something like a job loss, in the event of something like a job loss, you can decide to maybe cut down on rent if it is possible. So I decided that food, rent, other household items, maybe electricity, those are non-negotiables and they have to remain in your budget. Then I looked at school fees, and this is not school fees per se. You can see this, the figure is quite small. So maybe just a school lunch for a child who is attending public school, so 500 per month or so, or 500, and then tuition, those things that they normally ask for, adding up to 1,500 per month. Then your minimum debt repayment, of course, you have to keep it. Then there's your mother, there's Wi-Fi. I'm assuming you still have to look for work, and there's a bit of grooming. So with that, I was able to decide that those are the expenses that would go into my calculation of emergency funds for this person. And then based on that, I calculated the total required for 3 months emergency fund. So basically, I said, if it is a yes, then let's multiply this monthly budget by 3. So every fund that has a yes, you'll realize that it has a figure here, and that is basically just the monthly budget multiplied by 5. Anything that is a no, that is to say that it is no longer essential and it does not form part of your emergency fund. I left out fare with the assumption that this person has probably lost their job and they do not have money for fare. Offering, you could squeeze here and there, put in some amount, but you'll realize that I have left out the tithe because the assumption is that this person no longer has income, right? There's that school fees and minimum debt repayment, with which, whether you have a job or not, you have to keep up with. There's Wi-Fi, there's grooming. Okay, so that came to a total of 60,000, which forms the target for your emergency fund. Okay, and in terms of how does this now come into your monthly, your monthly budget, we're still saying monthly because that's how this person used to earn their revenue, and hoping that they can, actually monthly because they are still earning and they're planning for an emergency in the future. So we gave ourselves a timeline of 6 months whilst this person is still earning money to try and raise the 60,000. So simple math would just mean 60,000 divided by 6 months. So for all these expenses, this person needs to be putting away 10,000 for the next 6 months to come up with an emergency fund. Okay, so in the same fashion, allow me to quickly take you through sinking funds and how this look like and how different they are from what we have just seen in emergency funds. I have tried to, summarize this in the steps that one actually takes to be able to put down an emergency fund. So maybe I can focus on the first 3 expenses. I have birthdays coming up. For me, in my house, when they start, they do not stop until a certain month. So we are all born in my household between July and October. So there's a birthday in July, there are 2 in August, there's one in September, and then there's a final one in October. So I know that these birthdays happen. So I used a figure of 4 because my family is a bit big. So I used 4 birthdays in a household, and we are like, okay, everyone has to be celebrated. So how do we plan for this? It is not an emergency. We know that people who are indeed born, there's some dates in calendars in the calendar that we can work with. So what do? I come here and I say, you can see here, there's a formula. For every birthday, my intention is to spend 5,000 on that day to celebrate that person. Because it is not an emergency, I can be able to bring down this to the level of my monthly budget. How much do I need to put away so that come July, we can celebrate person A? Come August, we can celebrate person B, September, October, and so on and so forth. So I came up with a figure of 5K per person, and there are 4 people. So 20,000 for my entire household to celebrate their birthdays. But these expenses, they all happen before the end of the year. So I cannot take a whole 12 months. If I'm starting from January, you can see the assumptions here. If I'm starting from January, I cannot take a whole year to plan for these birthdays. So I'm working with till June. By the time June comes, I should have birthday money for the first person and all that, because they are back to back. So I came up with a figure of 20K spread out within 6 months and arrived at a monthly figure of 3,333. So this is the amount that I will then go back to my budget and put in on a monthly basis, that I need to save this much for birthdays. Talk about Christmas. We saw Christmas in our examples today, determining whether it is sinking or emergency. Again, I thought about a family of 4. They are traveling to, up country. We want to buy gifts and all that. I worked with a figure of 7,500 per person for gifts and travel. It's probably a bit small, but I worked with that figure. I figured that the fund to build is 30,000 shillings. But this time round, this is something that is happening in December. And I'm looking at, my budgets or my plans at the beginning of the year, January 1st. So I have a whole 12 months to raise 30,000 for Christmas. So what does that mean for my monthly budget? It is 2,500. Again, it goes into my monthly budget as 2,500. Talk about school fees for the children. I have 2 children. Or in this example, 2 children who are schoolgoers. Their school fees is 40,000 per school term, right? Per school term. You could be a little bit more, more prudent in your planning. You could plan even longer. You could plan for next year's school fees. You could plan for, 2 years school fees. There are people who I know that when the school year begins, they deposit the entire year's worth of school fees in January. Then they begin putting money in a sinking fund for the following year. But at the very least, school fees should not catch us by surprise. When we are in first term, we should be able to put down first term school fees at the very beginning. Then through first term, we are planning for second term in some sort of sinking fund. So that is the example there. These children pay 40,000 each per term. So I need to raise 80,000 for the next school term. And I have 3 months to do that. So in terms of what this means, again, for my monthly budget, it is 26,000. So on and so forth. I want to buy land in Kamulu in 2 years' time. I have 24 months to work with. I need capital for my business, like we saw. I have 12 months to work with, and so on and so forth. So this is all about understanding, number one, defining what that goal is. Is it birthday? Is it Christmas? Step 2, how much is required, realistically speaking? What is the timeline? The timeline, again, varies from an individual to the other based on what your budget is able to accommodate and when the goal, or when you really want to be able to meet that goal, right? You might do this and realize that, 24 months to acquire a piece of land in Kamulu is just too too short based on the amount of money maybe that you earn now. And you could work with a 5-year goal instead, 60 months to be able to raise that money. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Apologies again for the hiccups with tech, but I really pray that we have been able to take something out of our discussions from last week and today. Back to you, Sister Nancy.
Okay, thank you, Sister Evelyn. It's a very good, well-delivered session. And now and thank you for the exercise. It really helped us to know the difference, trying to really make out the difference between what are sinking funds and what are emergency funds. So everyone, please, I want you to, either you can raise your hand and speak or drop your questions in the chat. We have a few questions. So if you have questions, let's drop them in the chat for the next few minutes. So maybe I'll just start off, Sister Evelyn. If there's somebody who has a debt, people who are deep in debt, and then you have all this budget. So if you need to come up with a fund for debt repayment, or you want to put part of your income into debt repayment, where would we put that? Is it emergency or sinking, or how do you handle that?
Actually, Sister Nancy, the generally agreed percentage or recommended percentage of saving is 20%. And this 20% actually includes debt if one is in debt. So ideally, you should be putting away 20% of your income towards either saving or debt. Remember last week when we were looking at emergency funds, we say that the first emergency fund that anybody should have, whether you are in debt or not, is to be able to save up 1 month's worth of your living expenses. Then if you remember step 2, it was get rid of any high interest debt. So if you are indebted, ladies and gentlemen, you are not ready to save just yet, because the main aim of putting money aside for emergencies, for sinking funds, is so that you can be able to take care of your needs or even emergencies in the case of emergency funds and the other things that we have seen with sinking funds when these needs arise. But if you have kept money and you are indebted, it means that, if you're keeping money, yes, and you are still in debt, it means that the moment you encounter an emergency, number one, you will need to, if you don't have money kept aside, you will need to borrow to be able to fund this, right? And you will be paying interest on debt and saving at the same time. So sometimes when you're saving and you have debt, then it is counterproductive. But it is not to mean that you cannot save when you still have debt. You just have to make sure that the saving is not being washed away, or the earnings from your savings are not being washed away by the interest that you are paying on debt. And that's why the emphasis there was actually on the high interest debt. If you have those, the likes of Mshwari we spoke about, Tala, whatever, all those debts are actually very, very costly. And if you're trying to both save and pay debt, then it is really counterproductive. So the recommendation is pay your debts first, and then begin saving for your 3 to 6 months of emergency funds. And if your pay slip can allow, or your whatever, however you earn your money can allow, then you can also look at your sinking funds as well.
Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. Any other question? Jacqueline is saying, thank you for an excellent session. The whole family was here getting engaged and debating whether it's a sinking fund or emergency fund. So that was fun. Anyone with a question? Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Sister Evelyn, for creating time to just speak to us about a very important topics. Last week was amazing. This week has been amazing. Just being able to know that we need to plan for the future, medium, long term, whatever it is, whatever goals that you have. Don't just wake up one day and say, I want to go to Dubai. So if you want to go to Dubai, please plan for it and find a way of find a way of funding that particular goal. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Sister Evelyn, for your presentation. Please let us not forget to continue joining in. I think we will also have a session this at the end of this month. I think that the second last and the last Thursday. So so don't forget to come. Someone is asking, how can you access the recording to share with family members? After the recording is done, I think we will share it in our WhatsApp platforms, and then you can be able to get it there. So thank you for coming. And on behalf of our pastor, Dr. Fred, I want you to even welcome you to our church, in our church services. If you don't have any of you attending, please come. We meet at the East African Women's League along Bishop Road, next to Fairview Hotel. Our services start at 9:30 every Sunday. Please welcome for a word of warmth, for a word of encouragement, for a word of wisdom and prayer, and a lot of warmth. And also, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms at Kingsway Kenya, on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and God bless you. Thank you for coming. God bless you. God bless you. Be blessed. May God shine his face upon you. May he lift his countenance upon you. And may he show you peace. God bless you. And thank you for coming.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Say, can I remove people? Then we close.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know whose case is it.
I'm doing that. I had hosting rights.
No problem.
Passes here. And I've removed the last two.
Pastor is asking, everyone is gone.
Let me.
The idea of sharing the link on WhatsApp center is very good. I saw my colleague, Dr. Chesigor.
Just mute him. Recording.
Yeah, you can stop recording.
Have you finished recording? It's still recording, Percy.
Yeah.
Let me.
Here.
No. If you end, you'll go.
Oh, you're recording on this side as the host.
If the host, you'll stop recording.
Okay.